Bescheid. In
Boom. Boom. We're live, everybody. Hey, welcome to Red TV in Conversation. I'm Peter Clark. Nice to see you. Great to be here. Great to be with you. If you're here for the first time, special shout out to the people who come for the first time. I love bringing on new people and learning about what you do, and then you can learn a little bit about what we do here at Red TV. Welcome if this is your first time. If you have been here before, you already know what you're in for. So I appreciate that. That was just awesome. So appreciate that. Hey, listen, this is one of the things, we're going to talk about some really cool things today. Look at that person over there. We're going to talk about some really cool things today. Public speaking, professional speaking, really. That's what I'm really referring to. Being able to communicate your ideas and these kinds of things. And you know what? It's all about sometimes promoting yourself. I don't do a good job. I'm just telling you right now, I don't do a good job. So, hey, I'm going to tell you right now, please like and share this. If you like what you see and what we do, hey, let people know. Tell them to join us. I never promote my Red TV YouTube channel. Don't know why I don't do that. There it is right there. Just go out and subscribe. You know, we have some amazing guests, some amazing people that come on here and share their story. And more importantly, you walk away with something, always something. It's all heart-centered, all about inspiring and moving things forward and so on. And hey, did I tell you about my new audio network? I am right now, 𝘂𝗶𝘁𝗵, the juice. Get to practice with this radio voice of mine and fun stuff. And lots of cool things are going to come from some audio channels that I'm working on. So start with 𝘂𝗶𝘁𝗵, the juice. Really appreciate that. And let me just show you a little bit. Hey, I don't even, like I said, I don't promote this enough. And there it is. Look, boom. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. Look at those colors. I mean, come on. I mean, the hair, the glasses. I mean, the colors. Come on. It all looks pretty good. I think it's fun. And there it is behind me right there. All right, let's get right to it. This is fun stuff. I don't know this person. I have no idea. This is what's so fun about this. People say, hey, how do you find your guests? They find me. You know, somehow, some way, the universe. I saw a post. This person put out something about writing a book. And I've been threatening to do that for a long, long time. I'm actually working on right now. Okay. That was the first time I said that publicly. I'm actually working on something like that right now. But aren't we all? Don't we all have books in us? I think we all have books in us. That is for sure. So one of the things that caught my attention was exactly that, that she was writing this book. And I said, you know, I got to find out a little bit more. I'm very interested in public speaking and professional speaking. I have lots of friends and people that do podcasts and more importantly, it's about communicating. It's really about communicating ideas and how do we do that? And then, of course, if that becomes part of your business and that kind of thing. So I think it's really important that, you know, we have these kinds of conversations and meet these kinds of people that are experts in their field. So let's get right to it. We have so much to cover. There's just too much to cover. Okay. Just way too much to cover. Christa Haberstock. There she is right there. Look over there. We haven't even met. I didn't know who she is. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had no idea who she is. Okay. And I mean that in a very kind way. Hey, she's the founder and president of 𝘂 Agency, Bookable Speakers, and Plan 𝘂. She has decades of experience with helping professional speakers and so on. She's worked with bureaus and planners and buyers across the industry. So she's very, very well versed in all of these kinds of conversations that we're going to have. And she understands what it's about, what it's like to be a speaker. She's a speaker herself, which is one of the things I didn't even put up in the little promo over there. She's actually a speaker as well. So, but I think we're going to find out her predominant role now is helping other people. She has a new book. I just talked about it right there. Become a Bookable Speaker, which is fascinating. Again, this idea of how do we promote ourselves and talk about the fact that we provide a service called speaking, and then how do we become a bookable speaker? So she launched this thing in 40 days. That's what caught my attention. So I'm like, okay, she's a musician, singer. Hey, we share that in common, right? She's done comedy. She's been an elementary teacher. So there you go, a little smart Canadiana. Hey, originally from just up the street from me, Edmonton. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. If anyone doesn't know where that is, check that out. She's just a little north of me, or she's not anymore, but that's where she started there. And she's an Edmonton Oilers fan. But you know what? It's okay. Hey, that's okay. I'm going to get over that real quick because we got stuff to do. Hey, everybody, welcome, Christa Haberstock. How are you?
Hi, so nice to see you, Peter. You're the best, man. Like those kind of introductions, I just want to like roll around in them. They're so nice.
Well, hey, I didn't make any of it up. I mean, that's everything there.
I just put it all together. It makes me sound very important. So,
well, you are very important. So you're important to me right this very moment because you're here and we're having this conversation. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do that. Hey, listen, there's so much to cover and so much to talk about. But first of all, we haven't even met. So how are you? Like you and your family? I always start with asking people that. Like you and your family, everyone okay? Everyone's kind of.
Yeah, it's been a banner year, honestly, for my family. My son started college at University of North Texas in music, and he got a full tuition ride, which they based on his audition. So, but yeah,
congratulations.
So he's in 2 different bands. He's just killing it. And my daughter is in her final year of college, and she just got engaged 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I know. Yeah, everything's good, really good. And my kids love me and I love them, and we all talk and get along, which is the most important thing, right?
I was going to say, I mean, this, family's everything.
Yeah.
I know for me, I've had some health scares in the past without going into that. And you realize real quick who your friends are and how important family is. Everything else seems to be kind of noisy, and that's all it is. It becomes noise.
Yeah.
And so I super appreciate the fact that you spent some time with me. Because again, if you're not spending it with me, you could be spending it with your family. You're spending it here. So I appreciate that. Hey, let's talk about, before we jump into the book, this is something I wanted to ask you about because so we're talking about family right now, and this is important to me, but it's important to you. I think it's important to everybody that we really recognize the fact that we are here because we were surrounded by some great people. And you start your book, you were kind enough to send me a little intro to the book and so on. Hey, you can still feel free to send a book.
Yeah, but I guess that's the deal. No, I do. No. Like that's the deal. I've had a few interview requests, and they're like, "Will you send me a book?" I'm like, "Well, that's a sneaky way of getting a book, isn't it?" No, I'd be happy to.
No, digital's fine. No, digital's fine. I love to skim through and just kind of learn a little bit more about what you're doing. But the beginning of it really caught my attention. This is why, when someone sends me something, I read it. You started talking about your family right away. You jumped right in, your dad and your mom and your family. And I thought that was really cool that you started your book and about that. And you're an entrepreneur, you're a business leader, you're in the speaking world and so on. And those 3 things, leadership, entrepreneurship, speaking, they all require like a certain resilience, a mindset, to be successful, if you will. I'm just curious, what's values, let's say values and lessons that you might have learned from your mom and dad and your family that shape you and, how you run your business today?
We're all a product of our upbringing, our environment. It's the nature versus nurture thing, which I learned, when I was getting my education degree up there in Edmonton. And you just are a product of those 2 things in equal measure. Who knows, right? What's in my DNA? Is music in my DNA? And is that why my son's a musician, or did he grow up around it? Or is it both? I grew up around like my dad, actually for CBC, since you're Canadian. So he was kind of a popular he was a big guy. He was the vice president of 𝘊𝐶𝗶𝗄𝗏 up there. But before that, I know. Yeah. And he was a kind of a celebrity with CBC before that. He was on the radio when Kennedy was shot. So he made that announcement in Canada like that. That'll give you some context. And so, yeah, he was a radio broadcaster, television television bigwig. And my mom was no shrinking violet underneath his shadow, that is for sure, because, you know, she was technically a stay-at-home mom, but she was really anything but, right? Like I remember her as a realtor. I remember her having a program for at-risk teens. There's legend of like before I was born, actually, in their tiny little 1,086 square foot house, she started a kindergarten in the basement. You know, and just invited kids from the neighborhood in. And of course, this was in the mid 60s, and it was just like, it was the Wild West. So she just did what she wanted. So she's just as big of a personality. And then when those two forces breed, they breed pretty powerful, it turns out. So I'm the youngest of three. And, you know, I never had the athletic thing in me. I joke that my family has a history of bad knees, so I sing.
Excellent. I try to sing too, just so you know. I mean, that's what I found out about you. I was like, well, she said I'm a singer. I'm a musician. So relate to that because that's just part of my DNA.
We need to talk music too. So I normally don't wear a t-shirt, and I'm waiting for the big reveal moment. That's why there's so much space in my head.
I knew you knew that. I knew you knew that. I knew you know how about setting.
Yes, but I'm waiting for the big reveal of my concert t-shirt because it turned
I didn't know what it was.
Thing.
I said, I wonder what she would wear.
Yeah.
For Red TV. What would you bring to Red TV?
So you let me know when you're ready for that. Maybe it'll be
we'll do. I know exactly where we're going to do it. I got it coming.
Okay, good. So you just forgive this space until then. That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So, all right. So there we go. So then the second in the family, my older brother, Stephen, I call him a party on two legs. He has unstoppable force that it has the power to get a yes. Like he is the original Jedi master. Like these are not the droids they're looking for. That is my brother, Stephen. And he is still that way, you know. And my oldest brother, and I waited till last because he's the reason I'm in this crazy industry. So my brother Vince Pacenti is a Hall of Fame speaker in Canada with CAPS and a Hall of Fame speaker in the States with National Speakers Association, New York Times bestselling author. And what predicated all of that was just him deciding at some point, I think it was middle school, that he wanted to. I think it was that he actually wanted to march in the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games. I don't even know that he wanted to go to the Olympics so much as march. I don't know. I just remember that being the story. And when you say it out loud, it sounds a little wacky, but he did. And he was like, well, what could I do? He started in luge, and that was something that he didn't lean into all the way. And his partner, he saw his partner, like his luge partner or whatever, training partner, march in the opening ceremonies. And he wasn't. He sat in the stands and he went, that's not happening again. So for the 1992 Winter Olympics, he went from recreational athlete to Olympic athlete in 4.5 years with mental training techniques. Basically a non-athlete, you know, like he, you know, recreational skied and all that, but he competed in the 1992 Winter Olympics in Albertville, France. And and his plan was to win at the Olympics, win a gold, and then all the motivational speaking, you know, become a motivational speaker, and then all the speaking requests would come in. But he placed 15th, and the calls don't exactly flood in for someone who placed 15th in a demonstration sport.
Of course not. No, that's today, especially today. Even I mean, back then as well, but I mean today. Yeah.
Well, but there are speakers now that did the same thing he did, and it has to do with the concept of finding out your obvious advantage.
Right.
Like, what was your obvious advantage if we win gold? Is that you won gold.
Sure.
Right? If you win 15th, maybe that's not it. But what was his from this story? His obvious advantage is going, as I set it up, going from recreational skier to Olympic athlete in 4.5 years. What does it take for a mere mortal to do that?
Right.
And to actually train your brain to become an Olympic athlete in that tiny little time frame. Yeah. And that's what his whole brand is based on. And truthfully, if he had won gold, it would have been a bit of a cheat to the top, right? He really had to, and not a cheat, but he would have changed.
It would have changed. It would have changed the dynamics of it. It would have changed the dynamics.
This makes it more powerful. Like the fact that he placed 15th. He hit a bump, by the way. He was favored to win, which was heartbreaking being there. And whew, I remember just.
Well, that's why people watch live sports, because anything can happen at any time, at any moment. Can I just, and I rarely do this, but because I research people, you know, this, right? I research people. So I want that story to be told. I want that story to be told, but I don't want to deviate from the question. And the question was, from your brother, from your mom, and from your dad and stuff, the characteristics that you personally. So I want to talk about you. See, this is why you promote other speakers.
It's Peter, you found me out. Honest to God, I'm telling you, I don't know if it's a sickness or a gift or what it is, but
it's both, because I'm inflicted with it.
Are
I can't
you?
talk about.
Well, and this is why you're doing what you're doing. No, I swear, I'm the hardest person to interview because I always like take it over to other people.
That's okay. No, I'm just pulling you back because I want people to understand why I'm even talking to you. I mean, because that's a question sometimes I get privately with people say, why did you reach out to that person? What resonated with what's the criteria and whatever the case may be, just in conversation. And it's just fascinating, again, that it's easy for us to want to shine the light on somebody else. Listen, that's my whole life. That's my whole life. That's what I do.
I love that you picked up on that. I'm the guy behind the guy. Maybe it's the youngest in the family, but I've always been the guy behind the guy.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I really do. So let's go back to those characteristics. Think of a couple that you think for you. Just talk about you for like a minute if you can.
I can. I mean, listen, we all have it in us, right?
Sure.
I would say that the values, because you did ask about values very specifically.
Values that you.
And I do refer to this in the book because I've joked about it for years that my informal title is the FSO of my company. It's the figure stuff out. Because what you do as an entrepreneur, you just spend all day long FSOing. Like you have to figure stuff out all day long. And I think, I was what do they say that I was born in 69, but the 70s made me, right? So a 60s baby, the 70s made me. And you kind of are fighting for your life in the 70s as a kid. I mean, it's a bit of Raised by Wolves, a little bit 70s and 80s. It was wild. I don't know if you had that experience, but my parents were great parents, awesome parents, but the parenting style was very nurture independence. And as a result of that, you FSO. So I think all three of us have that in us, that we FSO whatever situation we're in. And I have this thing, well, I've always joked. So my maiden name is 𝘶𝗵𝗃𝗃. And I say 𝘶𝗵𝗃s don't suck. We just are incapable of sucking. And it's exasperating. Is it perfectionism? I don't know what it is, but I've just decided to lean into it. And when you say that I wrote a book in 40 days, I actually had some very close speaker friends of mine say, I don't know if I'd put that on blast because books that are written in 40 days suck. No one's going to buy it. I'm like, no, it's a really good book. I can with confidence say that my 40
even that statement alone is actually kind of interesting to hear from anybody to suggest. It would be like you saying to me or me saying to you, did you know that, Keith Richards wrote Satisfaction when he woke up in the middle of the night and it took him three minutes to write down those 3 notes. And, the idea that length of time has to do with excellence. It's interesting. That's a fascinating
when it's inspired and I'm not calling my book an inspiration to the world, but I'm telling you, this is and it's the classic 27 years, overnight success, 27 years in the making. I've been doing this 27 years. I've literally been writing this book since 2012. I did a video series, the content for the book. I've been generating the content in my head since 1997. But, generating content for the actual book since 2012. And in 2019, I put together a whole online course, video series based on these and professionally done and everything, 2019. What did that year predicate? So that just never saw the light of day. It was 19 or 17 modules or something. So I literally woke up one morning, let's say 2 months ago, not even. And I went, the technology's there. I'm going to reverse engineer my online course into a book. So I dumped it into AI. It gave me 48 to 45,000 words. I remember it was north of 45,000. I pared it down to 17,000 words and I built it back up to 33,000. I wrote 100 pages over the weekend.
Wow.
Because it was all there. It was all there. It was just all there.
Yeah, it wasn't. And I appreciate hearing that. I think a lot of people this is why I wanted to ask you that and dig into that. Again, it's so interesting. You see what happened there again? It's fascinating to do this interview. I asked you about your qualities and you've moved it into the book so well. And we're talking about your book now. And I'm thinking, does she know that this is not my first rodeo? And
oh my God. Are you like the Diane Sawyer where like everybody cries at the end?
No. I'm not. Yeah. So, you know, it's funny you say that because today when I was prepared, not today, I've been preparing for a while. I was prepared for these things. Is that, you know, I was trying to figure out, I want to bring a lot of value to the people that might be tuning in to learn about professional speaking. But to be frank with you, my natural instinct is to want to talk to you and learn what you do, because then it will be meaningful to the people that are actually listening to what you do.
It's actually a case study in something and I'm not going to bring it back to my book, I promise, but it's a case study in what speakers do all the time. They dehumanize themselves. They hide behind their content. And it's just exactly what I'm doing.
Well, hey, it's funny you say that, and not funny because I'm again, I've done some research and stuff, and you've said that before, and I think that's something that we're gonna jump into that as we speak, which is, you know, you're not your content. I heard you say that, so there you go. I do my homework. Here's what I'm gonna do with you. I know when I want to introduce the shirt, just saying. Okay. But it's so far down the show that I want you squared up to look like a rock.
I was gonna beg you, like I feel like a dork.
No, you don't. I just want to make sure that you feel good. So hey, let's do the big reveal. Let's see what you would be if you brought this to Red TV. I said, what? Because I'm a musician. I love these stuff.
I know. So, I think you're gonna like this.
Well, show me. Show.
And this was a big decision. Everybody who's watching, this was a very big decision, because do I go classic rock? Do I like, how much of myself do I reveal in this? Very interesting based on our conversation. So let me see if I can do this without giving everyone seasickness.
It's okay. Oh.
It is a band. It's a local band called Blacktop Mojo.
Blacktop Mojo.
Look
wow, you just got a big shout out. Did you say Blacktop?
Blacktop Mojo. They're a band from Palestine, Texas, which I don't even know how big it is, but it's pretty small. Wow. I was introduced to them not long ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, maybe at best. So one of my husband's very best friends runs a big granite company here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he has a big corporate client event every year. Probably brings in, I would say there's probably like 200, 250 people there, all buyers, right? So it's like a users group or whatever. A buyers event is a customer event. And so he had like In-N-Out Burger. He had an In-N-Out Burger truck. He had all the stuff. And then he said, and I'm bringing in a band. They're my favorite band. They're local. And basically he was like, I don't care if anybody likes them because they're my favorite band and I'm putting the event on.
And give me the style. What's the general style, generally
so
speaking?
It is,
I know it's hard to classify sometimes.
No. Yeah. And I actually did a little bit of research too, so that I promoted them properly. But I would say, like, if you wanted kind of apples to apples, I would say kind of like an Aerosmith. Oh. Yeah. I know, right? And like that's enough of a category, I would say. But it is, and like it's categorized as Texas rock, folk rock. I don't think it's that. Like in the 80s, when I don't know how old you are, but I think we're probably in the same vein here.
I'll talk about that later. I just had a birthday. I'm a vintage of everything you're talking about.
God.
Okay, light up when you said Aerosmith, you know, it's like,
well, that's it. I saw your eyes light up. I'm like,
there's some kids going like,
no, they're not. They better not be.
I hope not.
But so, yeah, and I would say even Def Leppard, actually, but Def Leppard was much more poppy. But those were considered hard rock bands in the 80s. So these guys, I would say, are
Poison, Bon Jovi, Whitesnake, all these bands, all the Rat, all these bands, right?
Like all that, but they are so pop now, like you can't. So Blacktop Mojo. So I and I wanted to bring them up, and I wanted to wear the shirt because I did want to promote an up and coming band that I really think needs.
Good for you. See, that's what you do. I love that. Hey, and I just mentioned my new audio network. So when we go off after, right?
There's honestly, and what sold
no music. We're broadcasting
them live. The guy came out and he looks like, I don't know if you know, there's a speaker named Justin Wren. They call him the Big Pygmy. Like he has these humanitarian organizations, or a humanitarian organization, Fight for the Forgotten, and it's for the orphan children of Christa forgets. It's not her speaker, so she doesn't have to remember all the details. But he is an MMA fighter, so he's huge, big, giant white guy with like his hair looks like it's dreads. It's not. Super cool guy, great heart, down in Austin. Well, the lead singer comes out for Blacktop Mojo, and I'm like, this guy looks like Justin Wren. Like he looks like this hearted And his
I want to
voice,
learn more about those
oh,
guys. We got to learn more about those guys. And so thank you for sharing that, because we're going to jump into that in a
okay.
little bit. And
Yes.
hey, I'm not pushing the conversation. I just want to bring the value to
We
the
need to do it. We
many,
need to do it.
there's so many great people here that you might know. Do you know? I don't know. You know Patricia Morgan. Do you know this person?
I know by name.
If you don't know these people, Krista, look them up on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And
Yes.
Patricia, just a
I'm
bundle
gonna
of
feel so
energy.
bad if I know them, because sometimes I'm bad with that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's okay. Morris, hey, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate that. Love this. Look at this, what she says here. Peter, there's a difference between public speaking and professional speaking. That's true, because I said public speaking earlier, and I don't want to confuse that. You're absolutely right. Very aware that those are two very distinguished things. By the way, very similar to the fact that I never call myself a musician, because Keith Richards is a musician. I play musical instruments. There's a difference. Okay, so I know how to play music. Todd Hirsch. Good to see you, Todd Hirsch.
Hi, Todd.
He's a rock star. I love that guy.
I
Do you know how
know.
well dressed that guy is? Do you know how well dressed
You know,
that guy
just
is?
looking at his picture, you can tell he smells good.
He is very cotton candy like. I agree. Very cotton candy like. Daniel Hall. Listen, do yourself a favor, Krista. Look this guy up. Just
Okay.
look him up and just learn of his personal
Cool.
story. Enough said about that. I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
Oh, Rashmi.
Rashmi.
Hi.
I don't know Rashmi. I know her.
Aw.
I know her name on LinkedIn.
This is
and
so
stuff.
fun. This is like having a little meet and greet. I didn't
Right,
know this
isn't
was
it?
happening.
There's a good friend of mine. I call him Emmy. Emmy has a great business. Everybody, I'm going to make sure he give him a shout out. Please look him up on LinkedIn, everybody. And if you know anybody that's in the world of retail, of getting a product out to large chain grocery stores, please call this guy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to that. And Todd says he can sing. I know, yeah, absolutely, you can do that. Patrick Tinney, good to see you, my friend. Love to see you. I so appreciate that. Thank you so much. And Daniel always gives me nice comments, but I just want to acknowledge. I know you feel. I love you, brother. I appreciate that.
This is why
Very kind, very kind. And Bill, thanks for tuning in. I know you got a meeting soon. I hope you can come back and revisit this and all that. I just want to give a quick shout out to some of the people that were here, and we're going to try to bring value to the whole thing, and that's what we're going to do. Hey, let's just jump right into some stuff. We got so much going on. Let's start with the context of what we're talking about today.
Okay.
Just talk about a little bit about, because I'm asking people to go to your profile. I want them to, look up all the things that you're doing and these kinds of things, so they don't we don't have to talk about it too much here. But I do want you to preface generally what you do and about 𝘂 Agency. Just tell us a little bit about that, so we put it in context of all the questions that are coming.
Sure. I spent 10 years at a speakers bureau, started in 1997. Speakers bureaus, for those who are listening that maybe won't know the difference between a speakers bureau and a speaker manager. So a speakers bureau is, for all intents and purposes, you could call them the middleman. They are much, much more than that. Speakers bureau agents are have an internal, absolute digital safe of all the speakers everywhere, where they fit. So when a client says, oh, I need something like this, they go, and they can go in and they can find it, It's like the original AI right here. So I did the bureau agent thing for 10 years, and that's where I got my chops with taking speakers and making them bookable, because that was the only way I could actually match an event planner, their needs, and what the speaker was offering, because there was such a disconnect. So that's where I got my chops on that. And I took that to the speaker representation side. I worked for CMI Speakers for a couple of years. Karen Harris, who's one of the great speaker managers out there. She's actually there in Calgary. So she's amazing. And so I learned a lot from her, but I also discovered I'm highly unemployable. I'm very entrepreneurial. And so I really wanted to roll my sleeves up and work with speakers on their brands. And so I started 𝘂 Agency. And, they're really getting brand, developing a speaker's brand has now become, for a lot of management models, part and parcel of bringing a speaker on. But I don't know how much it was being done back, when I was the fourth speaker manager on the scene. And really, speaker managers were just bring in, they would manage a speaker's business. It was kind of their speaker's back office. But I just loved working with speakers' brands and getting them involved in the connection point. Event planners need something, meeting professionals, someone looking for a speaker wants A, and I wanted to make the speaker the connection point of A. Look at my beautiful roster there. Yeah. And so I have, that's how I started in this industry. And I founded 𝘂 Agency in 2009. in July of 2009. So we just crested our 15th birthday. And I'm just looking at my beautiful website. We have had such great, it's been up and down. Like if you've gone through 9/11, 2008 and 2020, you're unkillable. So I basically tell people that I'm impossible to kill because I think I'm a lifer after all of that. So I have a roster right now. I've just signed another speaker. Like I've been talking to her for months, and she was a referral. So I have 10 speakers, about to be 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think this is great. I'll just skim real quick for everybody. Jump on the website. I'm just trying to get a little plug out there for you. I know of _𝗀𝗃. I've heard of her before.
Right.
And
of
yeah,
course.
I
She
mean,
was
I've
introduced to me by mutual friends in Edmonton.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is what's so fun. And I see these people, and I see them, somewhere in my feed, or
you might know Heather Moyse too, because she's a Canadian Olympian.
Right. This guy intrigues me. I'm gonna look at this guy up. He just looks like a rock star. So I'm like, I gotta find out. I gotta find out what he is. Kind of like a mini Rock. He looks like the Rock there a little bit.
How funny. Well, you got to look at his video. The opening scene in the video is Will Smith trying to high five him on his mechanical hand, and he's like, dude, don't hold my hand. Like it's just so funny. Like, so he is a bit of a rock star.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Again, I'll try to put it in the context so that we can start talking about your book a little bit, Becoming a Bookable Speaker. Let's jump right into that. The book itself, generally speaking, what are you trying to accomplish with that book, so that when someone kind of tunes into that? I heard you say something the other day, and I know this is not true, because you were kind of deflecting it from yourself. You said, I just put it out there. I don't even care if people buy it. I just want them. I just wanted to put it out there, and I'm thinking, no, you do care if people buy it. You do care if people. I know you do.
I heard myself when I said that, and I was like, well, I kind of care a little.
Yeah, you do care a little bit. You care a little bit. But let's talk about the book very quickly, because there's so many questions inside of that I want to talk about. But the purpose of the book right now, what you're hoping someone's going to come from. There it is, right there. Yeah, I love it, right there. Hey, I was going to put it up. I'm gonna put it up anyway. Talk about again, the intention. I think everyone cares about intention in life. I do. I love Wayne Dyer. So the power of intention. What is the intention truly, besides obviously having these conversations? But what are you hoping someone will pull from that?
This book is the culmination of all the contents of my brain over the last 27 years, and what the frustrated school teacher in me just wants all speakers to know all of this stuff. All of them. And what I've wanted to do, I mean, I have a whole Bookable Speakers event that I've done where I can sit down with, and I usually do about 20 speakers, but I do level 3, level 4, legacy speakers, established and legacy speakers, to say, what are the barriers that's getting in the way of your bookings? I think fundamentally, I'm going to boil this down, and I'm not going to give you a boilerplate answer. I think fundamentally, I'm wired to help, but I'm going to tell you actually. So there have been several things, not just 9/11, not just 2008, not just 2020, but some pretty significant road bumps for me, giant valleys, potholes over the last 10 years that has galvanized that, Peter, this isn't a job for me, it's a calling. And as much as I tried to quit, it honestly wouldn't let me. I was really discouraged in 2020, of course, when your income dries up and goes away overnight and stays that way for several years. It was tough, and your friends are begging you, please go get a job, do something where your heart's not going to get broken, and you're not going to go, you're not going to get busted financially. And I'm being very transparent right now that I felt very strongly that this is what I'm put on the planet to do. And I am the guy behind the guy, but I'm the guy behind the guy that can actually make huge tsunami waves of change, not just ripples, not just a pebble, not just I'm going to be kind and, pay it forward with coffee. All very important. We need the little pebbles. These people are giant boulders that you throw into a pond. And I feel very strongly that I want to promote the voices that should be heard. And so for the speakers that truly feel like they also have a calling on their life, a lot of them just kind of, and go away because they don't know these barriers. And the barriers are what I can clear out, but I can't. I've done it for a handful of speakers. I mean a handful compared to all the speakers that are out there. But I want, and I know it may sound cliche, but it's just the truth. This is my thumbprint. This job is my thumbprint on the world.
I appreciate you sharing that, because again, this is the deeper message here that I always want to try to dig into. And this is why, we'll talk after about this. This is, you just described a little bit about me. Do you know how many times I want to stop doing this?
Probably every day.
Like, do you have any idea? And I mean that in the kind way. I think people think like, I'm not forcing myself to do this. There's no one telling me to do this. It's
like no one picks you up in a van to come and like throw you in the back of a van and handcuff you and say, this is your job. No, we are free to go.
Free to go. And there's just something that calls you to say, I know for me, it's always been this idea of using your voice as a force for good. So I don't want to make this about me, but I understand what you just said.
So it resonates.
You have a calling that you're supposed to do. And maybe I'm supposed to speak for somebody. Maybe I'm supposed to add a voice to somebody or something that matters. And if people listen to me for some reason, then maybe that is the purpose of it. But I totally get that, and I appreciate that so much that you said that. Let's just keep jumping right into the book, because you know what? We'll go off on 5 hours to talk about spirituality.
It'll be Joe Rogan before you know it.
We're going to change people's lives yet. That's what we do around here. Let's just jump in some of these things. You said it's a calling to help speakers. So let's just talk about the speakers you have, but not them personally. Just the idea that you're representing.
I'm all excited.
I know.
He's gonna let me talk about my speakers. Okay,
well, it's not an info. We could do an infomercial another time.
No. I'm just so proud of it.
No. I really want to. Because I think as people learn more, even about how you work and operate, I think first of all it'll attract more people that want to work with you, and then of course event planners and people say, I like the way she deals with that. So that's going to be very helpful. So let's talk about some of these speakers and the qualities that they have. Talk about some of the most important characteristics. Talk about those people that you have in your roster. What are some of those important qualities and characteristics that make them a bookable speaker in this? It's a very competitive market.
It is a competitive market, incredibly competitive right now. In fact, I've never seen it like this. What has been, I'm going to back into this. So what are some of the qualities? I'm going to talk about this from the event professional's perspective, because at the end of the day, nothing else really matters. If you have all the qualities of a perfect, wonderful, amazing, great, fantastic speaker, and an event professional or speakers bureau or someone buying or selling you doesn't get it, it doesn't matter, right? It just doesn't matter, because if they don't see it, it's going to just wither in silence. So these speakers that experience the greatest success, first and foremost, identify what I call the obvious advantage. What are you potentially as a speaker overlooking? My favorite quote is, don't ignore the obvious. I apply it to myself. That's part of the reason, that was part of the light bulb that went on when I wanted to write the book. Because I was like, there's more for me to do. And it's fine to be just, booking dates and brand and all that. But that pull, I'm sure you do, Peter, like there's more for me to do. And what would that be? What would that be? Oh dear, what would that, right. It's so obvious.
What is see, this is why we're having this conversation. Okay. I know this is resonating with me, which means that it's resonating with everybody who's listening to this, that inside of them, deep down, they're saying, people tell me this all the time and I keep ignoring it. Why am I ignoring this?
People have said, when are you going to write a book? And the number of times, I know you already know, like you've known me 15 minutes. You know what I was like, oh, no, it's not about me. So Christa thinks she's going to write a book. And I did start this book, and I might still write it, but called The Anyway Way. And I wrote like an article on it. And it's the pursuit of doing things anyway, in any way you can. Okay. It's a nice thought. And it's exactly what the speakers on my roster do. They do it anyway, in any way they can. But I even went to a cabin in the woods, and I was going to write this book, and I was so uninspired. And so I just was like, well, I don't know, maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I'm a lazy writer. And I was ignoring the obvious. And the obvious is what I'm so good at and what I can help the most people with. And it's to dig really deep. And in fact, I'm going to tell you, like, the brand is still continuing to evolve, because it was so very targeted. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to speak for event planners on how to best book a speaker, which I can do that. I've done it. And then I'm like, well, maybe I could expand it to speakers, what's going to get them bookable. Okay, let's do that. So I do a lot of that, speaking to speakers about speaking. But then as I got into it, Peter, I'm like, this is for everybody. Like your obvious advantage is exactly what sets you apart. And it's exactly what you're probably ignoring. We ignore the obvious about ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more that even in the private conversations I have, I'm very lucky with one thing in my life. Well, many things, but one thing specific that we're in context of what we're talking about is that some people seem to feel very comfortable with sharing things with me that are
That's cool.
yeah, I might not even know them. I might just sit next to in a bar and and next thing I know, I'm counseling somebody. It's incredible.
You're shooting off that therapy energy.
Right. I don't know what that, yeah, I'm not sure what that is. But again, and there's other things, but again, what's obvious to somebody else to say, wow, I think I can trust that guy. I like whatever that is. So it could be someone's energy, it could be their skill set, it could be how they present themselves. I don't know what it is, but I appreciate what you're saying, the idea that there's something obvious. That I know that there's 3 things that you talk about that, and I put them up here so that people can see your process there. Talk about that idea of what the obvious is. What does that mean when you say that there's kind of 3 things that are involved with that?
Well, I would say that it is the number one exercise that I take speakers through. And it applies to everybody. I've done it actually with different companies I've worked with that I've done this with. What are you the first? What are you the first at? Most, only, best. These are the qualifiers. So first, most, only, best. So let's just say you are and if you want to use a different one, like the youngest or the only, you know what I'm saying? Those are the qualifiers, but I start with first, most, only, best. Very rarely do you get all 4. And it's a harder exercise than it sounds. I've walked several speakers through it, and I can't tell you how, first of all, speakers, and I'm sure everybody defaults to their content, as in what they talk about. So I'm the only speaker that talks about leadership from the inside out or something like that. It's like, no, what were you the first leader doing? Oh, what did you do as a leader, I should say. So for example, I was talking to this speaker last week, and she is the former president of a marquee brand, I won't name names, during an explosive growth period that we all witnessed, we all know. And if I drop the name, you'd be like, oh, no way. But what she has positioned herself as, and a female leader too, by the way, coming from another marquee corporation, launching a bunch of brands, but what she positioned herself at was female leadership speaker. And I mean, that's just, it doesn't do anything. But when you just peek just tiny bit behind the curtain, now not everybody has that, right? Not everybody has the teacher in me wants to call her the principal, the president of the this.
Well, they might not have the title, the experience. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's like, and I'm sorry for jumping in, but you're right. I mean, it's just like saying if my dad was John Bon Jovi, I mean, it would be a stretch that I play music. It's not a stretch that I've moved into that. I have that authority. If
and
you
how
will.
Nice if you had Bon Jovi for the last name, because that's an in, right? Although that's not even his last name, but that's okay.
Right. I'm just using kind of references to the idea that if some people don't have a presidency to sit back on, maybe the experience and those kinds of things. But I'll steer you back to this just first. I know you're going there with what she's doing, is that some of the characteristics that they have that make them bookable. So I know you're leaning into that, but those are the key points that I'm hoping that we can pull from that.
And this is what, so that's what you're exactly right. And it's a tricky thing to kind of, and I probably need to do a better job of making it tighter. It's a bit hard to like just unpack and say, well, this is what makes them bookable. But what makes you bookable is removing barriers to bookings. Bottom line. So if your barrier to booking is that you don't have an effective hook, if you're not the president of a marquee brand, if you didn't have your arm and leg bit off by a shark, if you aren't the first person to climb Everest on a motorcycle, if you are, if you're not any of those things, dig deeper. Now, the number of excuses I've heard from speakers over the years is like the number of stars in the sky. Oh, well, I'm not this and I'm not that. And I go, that's just crap. Like what is my obvious advantage? It's so weird. I'm the guy behind the guy, but I have an obvious advantage of having like, it's like, what was that? Oh, Peter, you know this for sure. It's like 20 feet from stardom. Isn't that what it was called?
Oh, yeah. 20 feet from stardom. Yes, it is.
Okay.
From fame. Is it from fame or from stardom?
No, it was
stardom.
20 feet from stardom, I think, because it was about the backup singers for all these huge bands. And it was
absolutely.
like, I just never forget, of course, a solo with the Rolling Stones on, was it Gimme Shelter?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You put me on the spot now. That singer, they called at 1 a.m. to come out and do those vocals. I just lost her too as well. I'm looking right at her talking about it.
Anyway, we're gonna get totally hazed for this. We can't remember.
I know.
It's just a shot away. That's the one, right? It's just a shot away. Yeah. Anyway, 20 feet from stardom. That's what I feel like.
I get it. Well, yeah, no, going back to what you mentioned before, like about the musicians and stuff, I have interviewed a lot of those musicians and a lot of them in Hired Gun, for example, that documentary called Hired Gun, where literally, they play with the biggest artists in the world and they're right next to them. They're in the studio, they're on the tour.
How cool.
But they're far from
famous.
They're making minimum wage. They're kind of just it's an incredible story. So back to your point is that having access and then the authority to speak on that access. I know you copied Mark, for example, Mark Schulman, who played with Pink for many years. Great speaker, by the way, great presenter, and those sorts of things. And there's the example right there. I mean, obviously made a great living. But obviously Pink is the artist and the musicians that she surrounds herself, she could hire whoever she wants. And so if you're fortunate enough to get on that train, fantastic.
And that he is a perfect example. And I'm actually glad you brought someone like him up, because for you've done a fantastic job too. When I reposted and you were all like very gracious, like, oh dear, but it makes me look better to be on your show when you've interviewed not just Richard Branson, by the way, and the curator of TED Talks. Okay, that's great. Then we get down the list. But when you have like almost like a co-hook, like the something for Pink. So you interviewed the bass player for Pink. Mark Schulman is the drummer for Pink. He's not Pink, but it makes him more bookable because he's easier to explain. And so he can command a higher fee. So if you are the adjunct professor of South Sudan macroeconomics at some community college, and you're going to come speak about, the geopolitical, you get a chicken dinner and $5 in cab fare. Okay, like that's what you get, because it takes a long time to explain that. But if you're Pink, you're untouchable. So the longer it takes to describe you, the less money you're going to make. I'm afraid to tell you that the lower your fee is going to be. So
that's part of the bookability. I mean, I hate to accept it myself. It's about self-awareness, is that, if people don't know who you are, you're talking to event planners. You brought that up. I think that's so important, is that, they have to make these decisions. They only have a certain amount of time to go through, all of the options that they have access to. Like you said, 78%, I think that was the stat you put out. The 78% of speakers are referred by someone, like actually verbally to somebody else, to another human being, which limits the pool, which makes it, very incestuous, if you will. You might show up a lot.
It's a lot of recycled, recycled. But when you can get inside of that centrifuge, then you're good. But the speakers on the outside of the centrifuge that are not inside of it yet, it's hard. It's very hard to break in there, because you speak more to speak more. That is my biggest advice to speakers who that Steve Martin quote, "Be so good they can't ignore you." When someone asked him what the secret to breaking into the entertainment industry, he said, "Be so good they can't ignore you." And that is the absolute secret to getting on a speakers bureau's agent's radar, on an event planner's radar. I have speakers in my mind when I talk about this, like right now. I think Mark Schulman is a great example, honestly, because Mark, and if he's watching this, he came to me very, 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 very early in his career, and I passed on him because I went, I'm not getting behind this. It's too hard to sell. You're the drummer for Pink.
Wow. Isn't that fascinating? That, again, that's fascinating to hear that. It's fascinating to hear, especially your love for music.
but he just kept going. Like the guy just kept going, which makes me love him. Like makes me just respect the crap out of him, because I just go, good. Like, and I have other speakers that I just go, no, it's too big of a hill to surmount for me.
Yeah.
And yet
No,
other agents would be like, hell yeah, like, yeah,
right.
he's the drummer for Pink, you know, and I just didn't see it. And that's okay. Like, there's no regret there, just because, you know, it's fine.
I get it. I
Yeah.
know, I get it. Listen, I get that. I just want to keep shouting out some people. They're sticking around,
Oh,
obviously watching for you. Is that Wayne Dyer? Thank you, Rashmi. Appreciate you sticking around, lifting me as I went through life adventure.
Rashmi has
while
an
I was in
amazing
prison.
story.
I
Well,
know. I skimmed her. Yeah, I got
mhm.
to chat with her later. That's pretty cool stuff. Love this stuff. Here he is, thumbprints of the world. Thumbprint on the world. I love that. Is right. See, look, it's resonating with people. Little one-liners in there. I love that
Aw,
kind of stuff, right? And Patricia, she's got some great energy. You want to reach out to her,
okay. I'm
and
excited.
yeah, you want to check her out. She's just awesome. She's just
Oh, good.
very
Use that,
supportive.
Patricia.
You
Use
know,
that with
you know.
speakers.
I love it. I love it. So listen, see what happens. This goes on. This goes on. And I laughed when you said, yeah, I've been known to go over on my shows. It's like, I I've tried my hardest to keep them to an hour. It's impossible. But anyway, if you know, I want people to get as much value
Of
as
course.
we
We'll go
can and
fast.
keep moving along. No, we're just rocking and rolling. So I
Okay. Awesome.
appreciate you doing all this. Let's talk about the branding. Let's talk about
Okay.
very quickly about some of the branding that's going on with speakers. Talk about some of the the bumps, the things that they puts them in the pitfalls. How can they avoid some of these things and some of the mistakes they made so they can stand out in the crowd? Just some very general ones. I know there's a ton, but some general ones that stand out for you.
I would say probably one of the biggest ones that bubbles to the surface is don't launch too early.
Oh.
So I'm guilty probably of even breaking that rule myself, because it is really hard to wait. Like you're like, oh, I've got a video, it's good enough, I'm just going to push it out there. Well, what could it hurt to push it out all the bureau agents? A lot. Let me just say that it can hurt you a lot to push it out. Because event planners, especially bureau agents, they have the memories of elephants. I know that because I was there for 10 years. And you take a name and you anchor it to something. And if that anchor is, it's going to stay that way for a long time. So be very, very careful. Now, don't get in your own way. Like if someone's like, if you have a personal relationship with a bureau agent and it's like, I have a new video, I have a website, I think I might be ready. What do you think? Do that. Like look at it and say, what do you think? Do you think this would be brand damaging to send out? Or do you think I'm ready to launch? And then get some really good advice on where your fees need to be, because if your fees are too low or too high, it's going to create brand static because it's not going to match. If you have a video that makes you look like a $10,000 speaker and you're pricing yourself at $20,000, there's an inconsistency there. Like, oh, like, do they not understand the market? There's just so many reasons why, and vice versa. I could go on and on about that, but I won't.
No, I appreciate that. I want to jump right to that again, though. But you talked
Okay.
about that video because my background is I've made videos since 2008. I mean, I've been making
Sure.
video content for all kinds of different businesses, organizations, travel companies, blah blah blah. So I know the power of video. I can appreciate the power of making them and these kinds of things. I've made some speakers reels for people.
Have you?
And yeah, I have. So I do understand the power of it. And but talk about that right there. You mentioned that, said, hey, I want to push that out, and you're thinking, be careful. So why is that reel so important? Why is that?
That your speaking reel mostly and your website, but 41% of planners make a decision based on the speaking reel. Like you can be everything and have a terrible reel and they'll pass on you. So your speaking reel is your most important asset. What was the question?
Say that again, though. You just said, are you saying that you could have all of the stats that maybe they're looking for, the check boxes, and they check out your reel? If it doesn't hit and resonate with them, they'll pass?
Yep. Oh yeah. Listen, you have to understand that event professionals, and this is a generality, but they are number 5 on CareerCast's most stressed lists year after year after year. I think they were number 4 or 5, but mostly number 5. The other ones are like pose mortal threat. Okay, we're talking military, police officers, firefighters, and pilots. So basically, like if you screw up, you die. And then there's event planners. So you cannot overstate what high stakes and stress they're under. So if a speaker shows up late, goes overtime, drops the F-bomb on stage, just a litany of other things that you could do, doesn't incorporate, gives the wrong name of something, messes up the CEO's name, anything, whose eyes are they're turning to the event planner.
Yeah.
And conversely, that standing ovation is for the event planner. When you get to the end of it and that speaker crushes it, that standing ovation is not for you, the speaker, it is for the event planner, because their neck is on the line. Yours is a transaction. You were hired for a job. So those materials that you're putting out there, those are actually conducting your job interview for you. You're not allowed to be there. We are so far removed from the sales cycle. It has been a long time since I've gotten to sell a speaker. I used to sell speakers. I don't. I brand them, and those materials sell for my speakers.
Right. So the reel is just such a powerful, because it has the audio, the video, the essence. There's a sense of even the music you choose, how quick it moves, all kinds of different things, the testimonials that come up. There's so many different aspects of it that just basically
will sell or unsell you as a speaker. It will sell or unsell you as a speaker. So get that right. I get a lot of people asking me, like, who do you recommend for videos? I have a video guy. I don't share them. For obvious reasons. And I say that, and I know he's taken other work. Of course he can. But he knows that I want to keep him plenty busy, because he knows what he's doing. I've got him on lock as far as what I want to see in a speaker reel. What do I want to see in a speaker reel? Because I know that's your next question. So
I know, but please, no, extend. No, there's so many. No,
yeah.
Keep going.
Well, and I'm just thinking about all the questions. I can hear the questions in my head. So I've actually this is very new information coming out of my brain. So it has not been road tested. It's the first time I've actually said it out loud. So I hope I can explain it. There is always a great debate about speaking reels, what they're supposed to look like. So Peter, you're going to appreciate this, having done speaking reels. Anybody who has done a speaker video, demo video, I actually think that your speaking reel will look very different based on your genre. So for me, my preferred speaking reel, and this is where I came, because I lean very heavy on the like world changer, inspirational, motivational, overcoming adversity, like real do-gooders, right? Like people who actually make like huge change. We talked about this before. So those speaking reels, I think, are going to look very different than a John Maxwell's, because he's going to lead with content. The first thing out of the gate is going to be content, the bestsellers, the content, Same thing. Let me just go into this. It's the first time I've said this too. You're getting me on a roll, and I will stop in a second. I got some crap from people for putting my picture on the cover.
Why is that? Explain.
And I had to wrestle it down, because I thought to myself, that was the last thing I wanted to do. You've known me 30 minutes now. You know that I don't want to put my picture on the cover of a book. I want to put someone else's picture. I want to put my roster's picture. I will do anything but put my picture on the cover of a book. But when I preach to speakers and say, you are not your content, you are your brand. Okay. The figurehead is the brand for, I would say, all speakers, unless you are a thought leader. Go ahead and Google, speaking to Richard Branson. He's on the cover of his book. This is what convinced me, was the speakers who are figureheads are on the cover of their book, because they are the brand. This is the brand. Now, do I want to get away from talking about myself at every opportunity? I kind of do, right? But this is the person that learned all of this. And so that goes on the cover.
That makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. It's like saying, it's like asking an artist of, why is there a picture of you on your album? Why? It's like, why are you in the movie poster? You're the star of the movie. Why are you on the movie poster? I don't know. That's just part of what I'm doing. I don't know.
They are the brand. Like, their face is the brand. Like, you are the brand. And now it's a little bit too comfortable for some people, if you know what I mean. Like, they're like, of course my face would go on the cover because I'm the awesomest. And when you ask them the first, most, only, best, they like, they got no problem.
No problem.
Well, I think we have a different problem. So it's easy for them to put their, now, does it take a little touch of narcissism to be on a stage, hold a microphone? Of course. Does it take the like the negative parts, like having no compassion, all that? No, it doesn't. But I think all of us who go out there and maybe speak, we all have that, well, I have something to say and you should listen to me. I think that's very important. And that's a figurehead trait. That's a Richard Branson trait. That's a Elon Musk trait. That's who else was I looking at? Like Steve Jobs, right? Those are the figureheads, and they go on the cover of their books.
You know, it's funny. I find it fascinating because I speak to a friend of mine often about this sort of subject matter, and I'll add to that about, let's use Richard Branson as the example and the brand. On LinkedIn, I'll ask everybody who's on LinkedIn right now, do this later, stay on the show right now, but do this later. Just look up Virgin, the company, and see how many followers it has. And then look up Richard Branson and see how many followers it has. And all you have to do is go look up Tesla, look up who owns it, look up Microsoft, look up who owns it, and see who the followers are. So the brand and who you are and the connection between those two certainly have different conversations, one for Main Street, maybe one for Wall Street. Maybe there's all kinds of different things of those conversations, but make no mistake, Virgin became Virgin because of this branding effect that Richard Branson had, this charisma, great ideas and great people to execute. But there is still that essence. If you put out a book, Losing My Virginity or whatever his next book, comes out is, you can't just put the logo up. I mean, you have to have the face to it. So very similar to C Agency. Don't get me wrong. I'm just Red TV. What is Red TV? Same thing.
But it's you.
It's me. I'm trying to, I know I try to separate the two all the time, but I often have people, and I know they don't. I know it's funny because when they meet me, they might say, what do you kind of do? And I might mention Red TV, and they'll say, I've heard of that. I'm thinking, no, you haven't, but that's okay.
But it's a catchy title, so thank you.
It's catchy. It sounds familiar. I've heard of the color red, so I mean, maybe I've heard it before. But the essence is, I want them. I'm hoping that they recognize the connection between the two things, that it is kind of one and the same, and so on. I appreciate that you sharing that, this idea of the real, because I know that I've had this conversation with many different speakers and different people. Listen, this is just for business in general. I mean, when you're putting out content, they're going to connect the things that you put out, and if it resonates with who you are and what you do, if there's a disconnect, they're going to think, I don't know if that makes any sense. Let's talk about the positive things then. I mean, I asked about some of the mistakes they just made, but what are the elements that of a great speaker's brand? I think you just said some of them there, but having a great reel, maybe a website, these kinds of things. What are some of those key elements that you look for out of the people that, for example, you represent?
From the sales chair, yeah. Number one thing would be strong assets that are clear, and like a strong brand is different than a clear brand, right? You can have a very strong brand, but if it's all corporate eyewash, it doesn't mean anything. So a clear brand is what sells. That's what makes a speaker bookable. A speaker is bookable if they lower, we've talked a little bit about the stress factor for event planners. If they lower that fear, if they lower that stress factor, if they are reliable, the word of mouth, testimonials, social proof, lots of video, consistency. And I would say, like, obviously a consistent message lead is also a clear brand, but a consistent track record is what I'm talking about here. So the testimonials and the word of mouth. And I would say a big one, and golly, if I had another word, but it's authenticity. And that comes with the obvious advantage. A person who is not able to fully embrace their obvious advantage is not authentic. I've worked with speakers. I mean, I had a chance to represent like a couple come to mind. This was years ago. I worked with a comedian who back then we called them humorists. Why? I don't know, but it's a comedian. Very funny presentation, very busy speaker, started to veer off the comedy path. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is your thing. And this is actually, I remember standing in his kitchen, and he and his wife were there, and we were talking, and he's like, I just want to move away from this comedy thing, and I think I have more in me. I'm like, fine, but your brand has to stay. You like the high level, and I don't want to give away too much, but the high level people that were in this guy's life, I'm like, you have to name drop, just like the Pink thing. It's like, why would Mark Schulman not use like drummer for Pink? It's kind of like saying, I think I'm going to move away from the drumming for Pink. No, you're not. You're never going to, because that's your foot in the door. And that is your obvious advantage. And if you're not doing that, if you're not leading with that, who you are, what you've done, and why you learned what you learned, and why you're holding the microphone, you're not authentic. You're missing it. People think there's a disconnect, and you can feel that. It's like a static, right? It's like, when is he going to talk about the comedy stuff? Like, he's obviously got like, when is he going to talk about that? It's like, oh, Bye Bye Miss American Pie. I'm going to bring it back to music as much as I can.
John McClane. Yeah.
John McClane. I heard the story that he actually did a whole concert and left off Bye Bye American Pie. Right. And the place, like, it was like they were going to burn it to the ground because he didn't do it.
100%.
Like, if you don't do American Pie, you're not being consistent with your brand, and it will really make people mad.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, back to the point of your event planners, to be fair to them, and someone like you who represents using that comedian as the example, and we'll tie it back to music again. If I'm an event planner and I need a country band, and you kind of show up and you're kind of doing something else, man, everything looks really bad. And it doesn't matter if you're a great rock band. If you're a great rock band, you didn't sell me a rock band. I was asking for a country band. So very similar to what you were talking about there, where your brand and what you're representing, and then asking other people to buy into. Just be transparent. I think is just be transparent with, this is what I do. Or if I'm changing, by the way, say that, you know, I'm a country rock band. You know, you could say that too.
But I'll still play your favorite country. I'll play the song that made me famous. I will play the song that the reason you're here, the reason you bought the ticket, the reason you hired the speaker, the reason I'm on this stage at all is because of this song, or is because of this story, or is because I went to the Olympics. So don't ignore that. That's the whole, don't ignore the obvious. Right? That's your obvious advantage. Don't move away from it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. You mentioned something here. I really need to jump to this one because you already talked about it. It's so sensitive. Let's see. Health is number one in the world. For me. I'll speak for myself, but I hope this resonates with people. You know, if you don't have your health and your mobility and all those kinds of things, life is pretty tough. Right behind that is financial. Really, really tough. We've set up a system in the world where, you know, having financial access gives more options. I like what Chris Rock described when his favorite thing when they asked him about being famous. Being rich. He said about being rich. What is your favorite thing? And you think he would list all kinds of different things. And he said, options. He said, it gives me options. And I'm like, wow, that's true. Yeah, it does give you options. Where you live, what hospital you go to, all the different qualities of things. Let's talk about pricing real quick for not only just seasoned people, but I really want to dig into. Let's keep in mind that someone who's just starting out, or maybe they don't have someone like you in their corner. Maybe there's not someone out there saying, "Hey, this person is really good," but here's the reasons. There's a big difference when I'm saying how good you are and your book is versus you saying it. So let's talk about that. And let's keep in mind, there's probably 2 or 3 groups of people in here. There's ones that are very established and their pricing can be set in a certain way. But let's talk about that. How do you go about that when you're starting to work with someone who's on those 3 levels? Maybe someone who's really experienced, someone kind of in the middle, but then someone who's just trying to start. Where do you start with that?
So it's and also I want to be sensitive too, because the Canadian market's different than the American market. That's different than the Australian market. That's different than the German market. You know, so where I know best is the American market, and the Canadian market it just tends to skew lower for fees. It just does. Population base, I don't know. Just is what it is. So the American market, it is the brass ring. I mean, I have speakers from Canada, from Australia. They want to break into the American market because the fees are probably the highest here out of anywhere. So when I give a fee, just know that, there are 4 levels. So there's emerging. This is what I've made up in my head. You would think I could remember it, but there's emerging. There's something else. There's established and legacy. But basically it's level 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in the emerging, you're just really getting your training wheels are still on. You're building your brand. You're getting your footage for your video. You're doing your reps. You're doing all that. So that's an emerging speaker. That would be someone in the American market. I would say probably the emerging speaker would come out of the gate probably at $5,000. and, you know, or lower if you're niched. So for example, if you are a, what kind of niche can you give me here? So for low, well, listen, if I'm speaking to speakers about speaking, I'm not going to probably charge $5,000. Maybe I am. But when I'm speaking to an organization or corporation about the obvious advantage, then I'm going to charge more, because that is more of a generic kind of a playing field. That the emerging speaker who is niched is going to probably do less than 5,000. So
let's go to the level just before we move on to the next one. So when I'm first starting, obviously I take some free ones. Do I, or do I not?
Oh gosh, yes.
Of course, right?
Of course, yes.
Of course.
Because like Bean Gill, you referenced Bean. So she spoke for the Rick Hansen Foundation for 10 years as an ambassador. 10 years of reps on stages. Do you not think that Bean came to me highly polished because she did 10 years of reps on stages? Ryan Tillman, who's on my roster, he's been speaking to law enforcement and he was a school resource officer. He's been traveling to schools and education groups. Same thing with Lauren Sisler, traveling to addiction recovery groups for 10 years. A lot of the speakers that come to me have been speaking before I even knew they existed. They've done, you know, TED Talks, they've done all the stuff for free, and you get your reps that way. And you become a real master of it, because I'm very bullish. And as we're talking about fees, I'm bullish that you should earn those fees. I do not respond well to speakers who come to me and say, I'm going to start at 20,000. That to me is a very entitled mindset. And I think if you have not done the reps on stage, $20,000 speakers know what to do when their 45-minute keynote is cut to 12 minutes right before you go on stage. You don't know what you are not going to know what to do. If you come out of the gate at 20,000, you're making all the other 20,000 speakers look bad by not knowing what to do.
Right. Again, you know, it's funny bringing it back to music and stuff. It's like, it's like me right this second. I've been playing music for longer than I'll ever admit. Okay. I know what rooms I can do. I know if someone said to me, now I have no expectation of going down to the Saddle Dome here in Calgary and think that 20,000 people are going to show up. And by the way, even if I was given the opportunity to go in front of Springsteen or something like that, as an example, you'd be thinking, wow, I think I might be out of my league. And that might be a confidence thing. I don't know. But my point is,
there's an element of that where, you know, like you're just like, you're out of my weight class here.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to, you know, sometimes you punch above your weight class, nothing wrong with that. But there's back to your humility thing and ego thing. It's like, you know, this idea of I know what I'm worth versus what will the market bear, and kind of reconciling these two things of someone saying, I don't know if I want to pay $20,000 for you, Peter, right now.
And that is a double-edged sword. So I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth right now, because I'm like, if your fee doesn't match your brand, then there's going to be some inconsistency. So, I would think that you can put together an excellent speaking reel with all the footage from your 10 years. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I would think that that's what it would take to make an excellent speaking reel. There's a bit of I am going to poke at something a little bit, that technology and access to high-end production tools is creating a little bit of a thing. You know, throwing together an audience, I am allergic to that. Throwing together an audience and then speaking to them and making it look like that's your large market footage, because it's cheating reps. It's basically plagiarizing reps. And I'm not okay with that. I call it catfishing, you know, the whole dating thing. So if, you know, it's a highly filtered photo of a super hot girl and you get to the date and you're like, oh, that's not what I came to. That's not what I was chatting with. Or maybe she looks really, really good, you know, for a while, but the reps count. The reps matter. I am so bullish about legacy speakers. Like, I want to see the speakers who have been speaking for 20, 30, 40 years. I want to see those guys and gals on the stage. I want those people holding the microphone. That's why I developed Bookable Speakers, was to work with established and legacy speakers to eliminate their barriers to bookings, because they're the worst offenders, because they got comfortable and now they're getting lapped by the catfish.
You know, everything you talked about, it's funny. This is what's so fascinating about the speaking business in general. And, you know, when we merge it with technology. We merge it with the ability to broadcast, like we're doing now, to record, to distribute, and to create environments. With AI tools, of course, you can look and sound pretty amazing these days. You can set up a situation where it looks like you're speaking to a large group and you're not. It reminds me back to the music comparison. I mean, there's lots of people who can make some great music in their bedroom. But if you brought them out to a stage and say, here's the guitar, entertain me, they wouldn't know what to do. And I know that's a very common thing today because we've grown up now with The Voice and American Idol, and you have people coming out to say, well, I'm 15 and I've never played in front of anybody and I want to be a pop star. And you're like, wow, versus someone who maybe done 10, 15 years in clubs and knows exactly, like you said, when the sound man doesn't show up, or your van breaks down, do you know what to do?
Someone like passes out in the front row, what to do, or just anything that can happen in a live venue. And that, I mean, it's exactly people who get shoved into leadership roles too early. It's the same thing. Just because you're a top salesperson doesn't necessarily mean you should be a sales manager because you haven't done the reps. So I don't know. And I think I might be old fashioned. I think that's part of my thing, but I just really, or maybe I'm too Canadian. I just like to see people earn their success.
I was just going to say that. Like, first of all, no, I think you're Canadian. I think that's what it is. Say, hey, I'm sorry about that.
Get in line behind the rest
absolutely.
of us.
I'm going to take a quick little one-liner here to everybody. Thank you for sticking around and tuning in. We're going to keep going for a little bit more, and we're going to have to do more of this. Unfortunately, for you, Christa, we're going to have to do this again because we're not even touching the essence of anything I'm trying to get to here because there's just too much to talk about. And the reason why I say that openly is that we're talking about people's careers and lives and so there's no one liner for those things. And I just always want to emphasize to people, sometimes it sounds like we're going on about stuff, but for me, it's like, well, we're talking about your livelihood. We're trying to find the essence of what makes us all kind of tick and connect and build relationships. And that to me is not one-liners. There's no one-liners for that. So I wish I had some simple one-liner message for everybody. We don't. But how about this? Let's kind of, I'm going to chug along here because I'm going to keep you for another little bit, and then we'll like I said, we got to get to some fun stuff. We haven't got to the fun stuff yet.
There's fun stuff.
More fun stuff. Okay. Hey, how about we do this? Before I get to the fun stuff, let's talk to those emerging ones, because I know we didn't get a chance in the pricing wise to go. But let's talk to those emerging people. Advice for them right now. What do you see out there? What's some of your experiences in general to say to that someone? Talk to me. Listen. I get asked to speak a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. I get asked to speak. I get asked to go do podcasts. And do you know I turn these things down, Christa, all the time? Don't ask me why. We'll talk about that later.
I know why.
I have no idea. I have some idea, but my point is that, if you're an emerging person, I would be an emerging person. Someone would say, well, Peter, can you come and speak to this subject or that subject? Or what do you speak about? I speak about this. Okay, great. What are you telling me? What are some of the things I need to be aware of as we start this journey together?
I would, the big question for sure is why? Why do you want to speak? Or why do you think you're being asked to speak? Because that's the most important question to ask yourself. So for you, I would say, why are you turning these things down? And I think that's a really important question to ask yourself, because if you're being asked to speak, those are opportunities. Unless you're fundamentally opposed to it for some reason. Christa, when are you going to write a book? Christa, when are you going to write a book? Christa, you should be a speaker. Christa, you should be. Like years. Peter, I'm not even kidding. Years. And I do feel a little bit, not regret, but I actually feel like God was telling me to do it, and I just chose to ignore him. And that, for me, there's a little bit of like a yucky with that. Like, I know that that's what was happening. And so part of my fuel behind writing this crazy book in 40 days is because it's like, I really want to do the right thing here. So as an emerging speaker, let me just speak for myself, because I've been on plenty of stages and I've spoken. I haven't spoken at a high level, not a high level. I wouldn't by any means say that I've got the 10 years of regular reps, like Bean Gill was an ambassador. So I would put myself in the emerging or the second level of speakers for sure. And you accept everything that comes your way. So if you're an emerging speaker, you accept everything that comes your way, and you get footage. Oh, please get footage of everything you do on stage. Even if you get a small, modest fee, turn that whole speaking fee into a camera crew, and with permission, of course, only if it aligns with the event and the event needs, et cetera, et cetera. But don't ignore, oh my God, here I go. Don't ignore the obvious. If you're getting asked to speak, there's a gravitational pull to you, and you're speaking. Is it going to turn into something? No, I mean, yes, I don't know. But that one opportunity is important, and that's a rep. And then you can see, how does this feel for me? So for emerging speakers, I do want to say very transparently, I want to say there are a great number of speakers that will come to anybody in the speaking industry, me, you, anybody who is seen as someone who does this, all right? Say, I want to do what you do. I have a story to tell. And that puts me a little, makes my I learned this at a music thing, makes my molars itch a little bit. Heard that at a music conference one time.
Excellent.
It makes my molars itch a little bit, because I go, all right, so what's the audience going to get out of it? Is this for you, or is it for the audience that hears you speak? And that shuts it down pretty fast, because a lot of speakers are like, I want to tell my story. The number of messages I get on LinkedIn, and let me just caution everybody who's listening to this ever, do not start your email with I am a, because that is serving you, and I've already lost interest.
Wow. Why is that? What is, this goes back to I am. Goes back to, and I mean this kind of, there's a different context, obviously, in the spiritual world of saying I am versus, but I understand what you mean by that, and I'll expand on that in a second. Why does that turn you instantly as maybe a representative? I am when someone can clearly define what they are, it almost makes sense sometimes to them to say,
well, don't start the email that way is what I'm saying. You need to clearly define yourself. But my dad taught me this, actually. Like he and my mom are both really good writers. He was a good orator. That's where we got our speaking skills, right? Was from my dad and my mom, just, both of them. But I remember him teaching me this. First time I've told this out loud, actually. But I remember, I don't even know what we were talking about, but he said, I think I was showing him something like a letter I had to write to an employer or something. I don't even remember, but he said, no, go rewrite it and take out every I. And he said, even if you have to say, my experience is in, or this isn't great, but like life has afforded me multiple opportunities to XYZ, like to get it away from yourself the second you can. That's just a nuanced kind of thing that just, I suppose, is a pet peeve. But I also tell speakers, you have to be able to very quickly and easily say, I help blank. So I help teams and leaders. For myself, I help teams and leaders find their obvious advantage so they can embrace their purpose and passion in their job.
Beautiful.
As a speaker, you need to say, I help X. So I'm rabbit trailing hard, but that's actually an important one. But let me just say, so the messages should be personalized, of course. It's like, Christa, I see at 𝘂 Agency, you are a speaker manager. Like, this is sounds like it came out of AI, but you know where I'm going with this. You're a speaker manager. I love your roster. I've seen Bean Gill speak before. So glad to be connected with you on LinkedIn. Looks like you're doing some really important work. Reaching out today because my experience is in XYZ, and my goals include going from emerging speaker to this and that. It shows some partnership, doesn't it? Right?
Yes, it does. That's a great word. Listen, like we haven't done, it's funny because again, there's so much to talk about here, and we haven't even talked about that concept of building, these really, really important relationships and partnerships with people. Whether it's through event planners, people like yourself that represent, and I think again, I'm cautioning the idea that we're talking to people that are established. There's a lot of people out there that are quite independent, meaning they don't have representation. They do all their own social media. They manage their own website. So I feel for them as well, because again, that's who we're talking to, the essence of someone who's saying, I think I have something of value. Like you said, there's something knocking at the door. It's showing up in my life. Maybe it is a situation that I've overcome. Maybe it's a story. Whatever that is. there's a lot of people out there that are completely on their own and have to kind of go through all of these different situations of managing pretty much everything. You have to wear every hat.
Solopreneur.
The solopreneur, but you know, that's the, and again, about the relationships and partnerships.
FSO.
Yeah, there you go, figured it all out. Hey, I just want to thank everybody, and we're going to keep going here, just so you know. But there's so many great comments here.
I want to see them. This is my favorite part. I've never done.
Well,
this
yeah,
before.
there you go. Hey, very good advice. You know, reps are the key. There's the exact same thing. You know, again, this is really fantastic advice. It's okay. Toddy said I got to drop off. We got a keynote this afternoon.
You bragging or complaining? Come on.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, exactly. Good for you, Todd. Hey, and I appreciate his support, and I try to support him as well. That's one thing on LinkedIn. I hope people will remember is that, you know, we spend so much time, you know, posting ourselves and thinking about what we need to say. Sometimes we just need to listen to what others are saying and saying, hey, good for you, and give them a little, cheer them on, and maybe connect them with somebody that might be able to help them. I think that's the whole point of what we're doing right now. You know, we're trying to do those things.
100%. That's why I don't want to stop. It's like, what else can I help someone?
Oh no, hey, listen, we could go on for a long time, but we got to get to some fun, and then you know, and then we're going to listen. I think there's going to be a part 2. I just you know, I'll throw it out, but we'll figure that out later. But hey, we got to have a little bit of fun because that's just what we do around here. So you know, I know that you love music.
I do.
I know, yes, of course you do. You're a singer and you're a musician and all those kinds of stuff. And so, but I'm going to do 2 parts to this little upcoming little part of the show. I got to have a little this or that. We got to do a little. There you go, a little this or that. Hey,
awesome.
you like that? A little this or that? You gotta have a little this or that. Come on. I mean, but we're gonna do a speakers edition. So and then we'll get the music. We'll get the music. But the speakers edition is that I just want, there's no right or wrong with these. I'll give you 2 things to choose from. Don't have to expand too much, just a couple one-liners.
You're gonna make me choose between my speakers because I'm tapping out.
No.
They're all my favorites.
They're your kids. I mean, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
Right? They're your kids. So no, I would never ask you to do that. But here's what I would ask you to do is that I'm going to ask you, which one of these things should a speaker focus on first? Okay. Out of the 2. That's all. Very simple. Let's start with this one, this or that. This is speakers edition, everybody. We'll go through them real quick. Authenticity or a polished performance?
Oh, what do you think? Authenticity all day long.
And why is that? Why is that?
Because you can feel that. A polished performance you can see, and you know, it is the feeling. It's the, oh goodness, Krista's gonna get all wooey, but I mean, authenticity will ooze off of people. You can feel it when they are legitimately in their living authentically and comfortably in their own skin, and when they're not, it's uncomfortable to be around them. And there's nothing different like on stage. I will give the example that I gave actually in my book, and it's my first speaker. He was my first bookable speaker, Doc Henley, 2009 CNN hero, founder of Wine to Water. He actually won the 2009 CNN Heroes. I think he came second. So I say he was top 10, and I always say he won, but it was actually, I think, number 2. But I lost a booking to him, Peter. And I'm saying one of my speakers on my roster, I lost a booking to Doc Henley. I was like, who is this guy? I need to know. Oh, he's probably terrible. He's never spoken before. And why would they do that? And so I go and look up Wine to Water, and I'm Googling and I'm looking on Facebook. And 20 minutes later, I'm bawling my eyes out because of the crazy work that he's done with this organization, life-threatening work to bring attention to the global water crisis. And so I sent him a Facebook message. I was like, dude, like your stuff's going to blow up. Like, I just lost a booking to you, and I will. And probably now you can tell that I would do this. I really would. I was like, if you have any questions about the speaking industry, I just would love to have a call with you, you know, and I'm no dummy. Like, I'm like, this guy is going to blow up. So I don't mind. I don't mind dibs.
No, I mean, I get authenticity, you know, something that wins and speaks to your heart. I mean,
and that was it. And so he reached out, and the first video I ever posted of him, I broke my own rule so hard. I posted it and I was like, oh, he's clearing his voice on a microphone, standing behind a podium, looking at notes, but it was all I had. And I went, he's just so himself though. He's so humble and so himself. and 𝘄𝗶𝗁𝗿, who is a god of the speaking industry, he's a legend. Love that guy. He reposted it and he said, "Speakers, this is what authenticity looks like." And that was one of those moments where I was like, yeah, that matters. That matters so much more than anything.
It does matter. Okay, let's keep going here. How about social media presence or website quality?
Social media presence.
Fair enough. No, fair enough. No, we're not looking to, again, storytelling or data-driven insights.
Storytelling.
Yeah, these are the soft stuff. I mean that in a kind way. I mean soft, like the skills, the soft skills. How about this? Audience engagement or stage presence?
Audience engagement, because that's what's important to the event planner.
There's a big one-liner, everybody, right there. Again, going back to that. How about this? Short video reels or a long-form video?
Oh gosh. Oh man. I'm not going to say it depends on what kind of speaker you are, but it kind of does. But I will choose short.
Short. Okay.
And I'm the only one. Nope, short. No, that's it. That's my final answer.
Okay. No, and again, no right or wrong, everybody. We're just kind of saying, okay, what do you want to focus on first? It's whatever is obviously going to work for you and fit for you. How about this? How about professional branding photos or a brand logo? Sort of something
photos all day long. Nobody cares about your logo.
No one cares about the logo. No, I agree with that. I mean, it's so true. You know, again, it's going back to the Richard Branson Virgin thing. I mean, who's the person behind that? How about this? A consistent message or an adaptive message?
Ooh, ouch. Both, but adaptive.
Adaptive. The times kind of, yeah. No, I understand
and
that.
It's serving the audience. And if they know where you are, that you know where you are, I should say, as a speaker, then that's going to engage them better. And that's the number one thing for planners.
Okay. I'll leave it with this one. And this one's a little tricky, but higher speaking fees or more frequent bookings?
Probably more frequent bookings. Keep your skills sharp.
Keep your sharp out there, right? Yeah, absolutely. Hey, just because we got music on the mind, I got to find out a little bit more about this. A couple of quick this or that for music. I know this is still the speaker's section, but how about this? Solo artist or band?
Band, for sure.
Guitar solo or drum solo?
Oh gosh, you're so mean. Drum solo.
I'm a drummer, just so you know.
Are you? Oh,
well, I play guitar. I started as a drummer.
Yeah.
My heart's in rhythm and all that.
Because you can feel the drums. Like guitar is more of like I watch it and I listen to it, but the drums, it hits me right there. So
I couldn't agree with you more. It's if you think about it. I mean, I think people think about this, but I always resonate with the idea that it's probably the first thing as a human being that you experience is a heart.
Actually, that's so funny. I was thinking it was the first music we had was drums.
I'm thinking as a human being inside your mom, you know, your brain, your body is experiencing these heartbeats. I think there's rhythmic to that. There's something to that anyway. How about this? 80s music or 90s music?
Oh, really?
I know, just dating ourselves.
Can we even say music when we talk about the 90s?
There's a couple cool tunes in there, but
I know
what you're saying.
Listen, the 70s and 80s music, I'll live and die by that all day long.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, my hair is stuck in the 80s. It's going to stay there for a while. Beatles or Stones?
Oh, Stones for sure.
Yeah. I know I don't struggle with that at all, but it's funny how many people pick Beatles.
Oh, I know.
How about this? This is a tough one. Fleetwood Mac or the Eagles?
Oh, well, sentimental reasons for Fleetwood Mac for sure.
Oh, yeah. I love that band.
I have a poster right there that my son actually left behind. Like my son loves that he is stuck in the 70s. My kid, he's the best, but he had a big Fleetwood Mac poster.
Old soul. That's what that is. Old soul. How about this? The Police or U2?
Oh, that's a horrible question.
No right or wrong.
No, there is. Oh no.
Well, to me there is. I mean, I'm just being honest. To me there is, but that's okay. I'll never say. You got to pick one. You got to book one at this gig. Come on, you got to speakers. No, I'm just saying right now. I'm throwing it at you. You're an agency. Come on, you're an C agency.
Bono, you have my heart, but I'm picking the police.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to say a word. How about this? Encore or the opening act?
Oh, interesting. Opening act, probably.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. How about this one? I'll leave it as this one. This one's a simple and last one, but cover songs or original music?
Oh gosh, this is like more exhausting than even picking a band t-shirt.
Right?
I could do speaker stuff all day long. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so important though. Cover band or original music? Is that what you're saying? Cover songs?
Yeah, cover music. Cover songs or original music?
Well, I know you want me to say original music, and I feel like I should, but I didn't get to see all the bands I wanted to in the 80s. And so when I get to see cover bands, I feel like I'm getting to see them, like really good cover bands. So I'm going to say cover song. If I get to see a cover band live, that would be it. I would like to see that.
Yeah, no, it's always fun. I couldn't agree with you more. It's fun. I mean, original music, I love that as well too. Of course, I'm not going to say that I don't love original music. I love people that are being creative. They're trying to express themselves, all that kind of stuff. I super appreciate that. Hey, Patricia, thank you so much. Repeatedly. Hey, always cheering for you. I want you to win. We always want you to win, and either or. Yeah, exactly. It's just, there you go. They invited me to be thinking. I imagine others online. So I appreciate that, Patricia. Yeah, see the either or stuff. Just, different things when it comes to building your business as a speaker, as a brand. There's just so much to consider and so many things that we need to take into account. And we didn't even touch on any of these things. Okay. So listen, everybody, guess what? We're going to have to wind up, Christa. This is what we do. We're going to have to wind up, but let me remind people a little bit about you and all that you're doing right now. Here's the website, everybody. You can check out her personal website. The other website, 𝘂 Agency, is available there. I don't have that one available right this second, but check that out. 𝘂 Agency, that's what we're talking about. There's a new book. You can also check that out, please. The new book is available. You can go through, just reach out to her on the website or go through LinkedIn. You can do all those kinds of things. And, if you have any questions or anything, look her up and find out if she can help you in one way or another. We're going to speak offline. I know that. Stick around after, Christa, because I have to wait. Okay. We'll chat after when we get all this stuff done. And hey, I hope everybody got a little bit of something out of this. One of the key things I know for me was to find your obvious. I like that idea. So maybe that's a message for everybody out there. Just find out, maybe just self-awareness is everything. So maybe just take some notes about what people say about you and find out if there's something in there that needs to come out. Ask yourself why you're turning things down, Peter. Oh, did I say that out loud?
I expect better out of you, young man.
What's that?
I said I expect better out of you, young man.
I know. There you go. See him being scolded already. So there you go. So thank you so much. It's wonderful to meet you. We didn't meet everybody, just so you know. And you talk about, I'll mention this, we're at the end here, Kristen. I'm going to say it's probably just me and you here, but I think there's a few people still watching, which is great. We haven't met, and we just jumped right into this conversation. I so appreciated it. It just flowed, and we had a great conversation. Hopefully we brought some value to people. And you were just talking about the experience part of it. At the beginning, you had to put out a fire. Literally, everybody, we just went live. I mean, we just went live.
I logged on right at the hour because I had a speaker emergency.
There you go.
Pop up right at the
and you were putting out fires, and I think that's awesome. I think that's amazing. And but at the same time, I really did. I was sitting here and I was like, okay, this happens, and I'm prepared. I was going to go live. It wouldn't. I was going to go live. When I say I'm going live, I'm going on. I mean, I'm not going to say, oh my goodness, the mic's not working. I don't work like that. So, and I just mean that in a kind way, meaning back to your point is that, preparing for these things. And that's why, like I said, those legacy speakers that you spoke of have put in the reps. They know what to do. This is not my first interview. So, meaning that I'm sort of aware of some of the things that might happen. And I think that's a really powerful message to remind everybody, do your homework, do the reps, get out there, do your homework. stay humble, be kind, do all those kinds of things. And I think all of the universe will kind of find its way towards you. So I hope you had fun.
And
right?
my favorite part was when you said we're going to have to do part 2. And I was like,
there you go. Hey, I forgot to mention this thing. I know you're an Oilers fan, and I was cheering for them, just so you know.
oh God.
I was cheering for them right up. And I live in Calgary. That's a hard thing to do.
You know,
That's
that actually,
right?
CBC said something about like, I think like a high percentage. There was 1% of Canada was not watching Game 7. I actually went up from Dallas to the Moss Pit for Game 7.
There you go. See, I always have one of these around, just so you know. I'm always carrying one of these around, just so you know. These, yeah, I'm sorry, I just had to. I have to. My friend works with the Flames, and he gives me all these things, and I wear them playing hockey. I'm playing hockey this afternoon, just so you know.
Are you? What position do you play?
What do you think?
Oh, I think you're a right or left winger.
Really? Wow.
You're not? Well, I can't tell. You're not standing.
I'm a goalie.
Well, that tracks. All goalies are unhinged in some way.
Drummer.
You're a goalie and a drummer. Oh my God. You're a cliche.
If I played baseball or softball, what do you think I played?
Oh, I don't talk about anything but hockey. I think we cut at this. Right, I mean, you probably played like the guy behind the guy who's hitting.
Catcher. No, the catcher. Yeah.
Oh, the catcher.
Yeah.
See, I don't know.
I don't know what that is. It's just what it is. Hey, it does a little bit for you, everybody. Just for you. Hey, I don't normally share that stuff. I just let people know kind of like a little bit what I do. But hey, we so appreciate you being here. I hope you got some value out of it. I know we'll have more conversations about speaking and professional speaking. It intrigues me. They have great stories. They're going to be great. They're great interviews. I think there's a lot of things here that really intrigue me when it comes to professional speaking and storytelling and all the benefits that people gather or gain from being exposed to some great stories, great people. It's just life, isn't it? It's just a combination of us all connecting and becoming a little bit kinder and nicer out there. So hey everybody, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. We're having lots of fun, and you know how this thing goes. I mean, you know how we end this thing all the time, right? Just be kind out there, everybody. That's all you got to do. Just be kind out there. It's so simple. Just be kind, everybody. That's all we need to do. Stick around after my fine friend, Krista. We'll have a little chat. Okay. And everybody else, you take care of yourself. We'll see you next time, everybody. Cheers. Just be kind out there. That's all you have to do. Just be kind out there. I mean, that's all you have to do. Just be kind out there, everybody. I mean, just be kind. That's all you have to do. Just be kind out there, everybody. Hey, just be kind. You know the drill. Yeah, just be kind out there, everybody. Just be kind. Just be kind out there, everybody. That's all you have to do, right? Exactly. Just be kind out there, everybody.